Wakenya wenzangu, I hope utashare hii video mpaka ifikie President William Ruto na Minister wa ICT. Kwa sababu nilisikia President amesema kwamba in 6 months time all government services zitakuwa online na zitakuwa digital. Na pia akaenda USA akakaribisha matajiri wa huko, akawaambia wanaweza kuja Kenya wa invest in digital and online platforms. In fact aliwaambia walete a data hub in Kenya to serve East Africa and Africa at large in long run. Lakini ile kitu ningeuliza President William Ruto, if only we make the Ministry of ICT to work as it was meant to, we could not be calling for these people to invest. Because I think there is a huge problem with the Ministry of ICT. I want to ask a simple question. How is it possible that we have a whole ministry, we have students going to school to learn ICT, but when it comes to election, hatuna any investor, we don't have the knowledge, and we don't have a government ministry that can be able to hold an election. In terms of holding data, lazima tuende Venezuela tukatafute akina Jose Camargo ati ndio wakuja watusaidie, tuwapatie data about us, they keep that data, they put it into a system, and then they do an election for us, or in other words, they host an election for us. If that is very difficult or complicated to comprehend or to think about this. We have been colonized digitally. We don't own anything in Kenya. For example, when it comes to social media, the most influential ni akina Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, akina TikTok. Who owns them? Is it Kenyans? Some are owned by USA and some are owned by Chinese. When it comes to marketing, who owns the marketing most, or the most influential marketing platforms? Akina Gigi, akina Jumia. Who owns them? Is it Kenyans? Is it that we Kenyans cannot be able to create such apps or applications? When you come to news, things that go on within and amongst ourselves, ati zinaripotiwa, the biggest platforms ni akina Opera News, owned by Chinese, akina Tuko, owned by Americans, and other platforms. None of them is owned by Kenyans. Na wakati akina Citizen zimekuja juu, tunaanza kuzipiga ati hao ni watu wa Azimio, sijui ni watu wa wapi. Simple things. Transportation. Who owns Uber? Who owns Bolt? Ati driver akibeba mteja, kwanza lazima atenge kitu kidogo apatie hizo kampuni ziende zikapeleke kwa country yao wa develop huko. Is it that we Kenyans cannot do such things? Is it that we don't have the capacity to do that? All that can only be made possible by the Ministry of ICT. Na hata tukimake the digital platforms, if we make everything to go online, yet we are not liberated from these online and digital colonizers called the Chinese and the West. Unless we invest in that thing that you, President William Ruto, called the bottom-up economic model, and empower the youth when they are most productive to create apps zenye zinasaidia watu kuwa digital na kuwa online from Kenya, made in Kenya, we are not yet there. We have not yet attained what we elected you for. Some of you are thinking that it is not possible to be independent. Let me remind you that few years ago, Chinese ama serikali ya China iliban Facebook from use in their country. And that is how TikTok came to be popular. Because when they banned Facebook, TikTok ndo ilikuwa inatumiwa China. And now we are using it in Kenya. Because they took the bold step to support their own. Now today I'm hearing that I know that Chinese are not using Google services because they have realized that wakiwapatia information, Google wanatumia information yenye wanachukua kutoka kwao, wanaiuza, wanapata pesa, wanatajirisha the West. And now the Chinese have come up with their own operating system. Now when will Kenya wake up? When will the Ministry of ICT make sense in the country? See, the Ministry of ICT is not only about being a middleman between the creator of an application and the user of an application in terms of policies on what amount and what I get. It is basically important. It is morally important. And it is very, very important that this ministry wakes up and make our youths productive and empower the Kenyan youth to be digitally awake.